Welcome to the Workplace Ninja Connect podcast.
Straight from the community event in the Netherlands. Smart conversations, sharp insights, and stories worth sharing. This is the Workplace Ninja Connect podcast.
Hello, welcome to the first recording of the Workplace Ninja Connect podcast. The podcast that we are hosting on our annual Workplace Ninja Connect event here in the Netherlands. My name is Frans Oudendorp and I'm co-hosted by
Michel, Vliet.
Michel, welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
We're looking forward to having some interesting guests on this table here on the venue. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Who do we have?
Let's see. Our guests now are live and live and breathe end-user computing, but slightly from different runways. Get it?
Nice,
yeah?
nice,
Okay.
nice.
Yeah. They both are trying to prove that you don't actually need a PC on your desk to get real work done. They're both Microsoft MVPs and architects, and at least one of them gets very nervous when he has to click something manually. Please welcome Ralph Eckhard and Patrick van der Born.
Thanks.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
And to start a bit, small introduction. Patrick, we have last year we did also recording. That was also on topics like AVD, Windows 365, that kind of stuff.
Yep, and security.
Yeah. Is that everything where you what your day job does?
Yeah, so a little introduction of me. I'm Patrick van der Born. I'm from a Dutch company called Translated the Technical Fellows. And I'm mainly focused on end-user computing, everything as code, cloud, and originally coming from the Citrix, the Citrix user group, and now moving towards the Microsoft one.
If you can do a little bit into the microphone, then everything comes loud and clear to everything.
Will do.
I have some post on LinkedIn. Saw something last week on vulnerabilities and Citrix, and you reacted on that. So don't touch that topic. So we will dive in probably a bit in later. Ralph, an airline.
Yeah.
Is that what you're working for at the moment?
No, I'm self-employed. I work as a Microsoft Cloud consultant. Mainly working with Office 365 in the past, but kind of shifted towards the whole Microsoft 365 stack, Intune, Entra ID, and from there moved on to more end-user computing as well. So Windows 365. And my current gig is at an airline. Yeah, you might know them.
Yeah,
A little bit.
We did a short talk before, and I was mentioning Michel. I think Ralph did a job that I had the months and the years before Ralph did. So I know exactly the business case that you were talking about.
Yeah, but now we're actually getting stuff done. So that's...
Yeah, actually. Deploying Windows 365 in a Dutch airline.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. What was the original use case for? I know it, but...
Yeah, okay, well, I came to Transavia because that's the company I talk about. To complete their migration from Windows 10 towards Windows 11. They were in kind of a hurry because there was some end-of-life date and stuff needs to be done. And then during that process, we encountered a few use cases, mainly in shared PCs, where we thought, well, Windows 365 might be a good option there. And apart from that, there was a risk assessment done previously, where one of the main risks in the organization were all the external hires working on their bring-your-own-device scenarios, without any control over the device, syncing data, syncing OneDrive folders, and we wanted to get rid of that as well. So with some help from Microsoft, we started exploring Windows 365, and it kind of exploded from there. So that's what my talk today is about as well. Just a sort of broad view on how we use Windows 365 now, where we started, where we currently are, and what the next steps will be in our journey on using it.
Can I ask a question about it?
Yeah, sure.
About how many Windows 365 desktops are we talking about?
Tough question. We have the enterprise part, so the full-blown 24/7 devices. I think that will end up around 250, 300. We have the frontline scenario, where the shift workers. So that's our technical department, our operations center, stuff like that. I think we have about 200 employees in that thing. And then we have external parties that use our infrastructure because they need to check in people to their flight, handle baggage, stuff like that. And I haven't got an actual count on that, but it's the frontline shared scenario, so we'll license that based on concurrent sessions instead of actual users. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're up to.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, when you guys look at organizations which first are looking or looking at Windows 365 as a solution, what's the biggest misconception you see when they start first looking at Windows 365 as a platform?
That it's difficult. It's not. Especially if you're already on your way using Intune and doing Entra joint devices, autopilot-like scenarios.
Yeah.
You can just take that whole system and apply it to your Windows 365 setup. And you just need the license. Get started, get trying, and you'll get there.
Isn't that the most misconception then? License, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I think most people kind of, or most organizations are kind of wary of trying it out. We need to build an entire infrastructure. We need to, maybe they did a test with AVD sometimes, and it's a lot of work to get it set up. And Microsoft has taken all that work away from you, and you just need to deploy your Windows 11 PC. The only difference is it's running in the cloud instead of on your local computer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The only thing, if you especially look at the Windows Cloud apps versus Windows 365 desktop use cases, is that there are both different use cases. Like what I see is that a lot of organizations choose Windows 365 because they have a lack of end-user computing ninjas like me, and managing, or Ralph, like managing really complex AVD environments, for example, from Azure. And when you do the desktop part, it's really easy because it's integrated in Intune, and it's basically a virtual laptop, and you manage it exactly the same. So that's getting up to that ninja part. Secondly, if you look at cloud apps, if you see that use case, that's because legacy applications, which maybe rely on traditional Active Directory or old SAP client with server latency, that's something you might be publishing from a remote app scenario, in this case Windows 365. But that adds all the new complexity to the Windows 365, since you need to add Azure connectivity, you need to know the connectivity to the SAP backend, how to package it on the machine. Yeah. So basically from that use case, it's way more complex to manage than you need to do it from the desktop perspective, because that's way more easy. So the misunderstanding for me is for the cloud apps is that that's easy too, because that's still a difficult use case to manage if you have difficult traditional applications.
I do think that the desktop version of Windows 365 is kind of the gateway drug. That's how it works for us, right? We're going to deploy this enterprise thing. Oh, we have some frontline scenarios as well. Oh, we can use this to move away from our current Citrix deployment for our external parties. Then the security architect comes by and says, well, we are still giving them a full desktop. Do we need to? Oh, maybe we want to just give them the app.
Exactly.
So it kind of evolves from there. And then, of course, you run into scenarios like, well, for the desktops, we use our client-based VPN client because we see it as a normal endpoint. That's not going to work when we deploy just the app, so we need Azure connectivity, network infrastructure, stuff like that. Yeah. But in my experience, if you just get started, you'll get there eventually. And of course, the app's deployment is more complex than just the desktop.
Exactly.
But you'll learn as you go.
Yeah.
And talking about Windows 365 AVD, right? You already mentioned that with remote app publishing within Windows 365. What is the main difference? Is that only networking? Is that the possibility of using locally hosted machines? What kind of differences do we have within Windows 365 and AVD? Because sometimes hard to choose.
Yeah, mainly if you look at AVD, you need to set up the whole AVD environment yourself. So configuring host pools, application groups, workspaces, managing images, do something about profile solutions with FS Logics, because Windows 365 has now a built-in roaming of the user configuration settings. So if you deploy that via Windows 365, then you just get it as a service from Microsoft. They do it for you. It's automatically hooked into Intune, and then all the apps will eventually land on your system and everything is there. So that deployment complexity is moved away. So you can just manage such an environment with Intune administrators instead that you need AVD ninjas in this case.
And from a license perspective, if you talking about the Windows 365 published apps, is that only based on the what was it, the frontline worker license?
Yeah, it's based on frontline worker. Then you have frontline shared, and you need to have, I guess, the Windows E3 and the Enter ID P1 as a minimum, I guess.
Intune, I guess, as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
I usually say if you have the frontline worker license, so the F license in Microsoft 365, you have all the requirements you need to get started.
Yep.
So the Enter part, the Intune part, the Windows license. I believe it's the F3. You're good to go.
Yeah, and basically, if we talk about licensing and cost, and one thing I didn't calculate yet is, but from my experience in elder environments, is that if you look at Windows 365 cloud apps, we're basically talking about a pooled VDI with a published app on it, with a one-on-one relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what we can do for years in Citrix, Omnissa, AVD environments as well. But from my experience, I never see it because it's really expensive. I think the list price of a Windows 365 frontline license is about $100 for a 100 euros for a 4 CPU, 16 gig VM. And if you look at the AVD part, you can host it on Windows 11 multi-session. And we did some load tests, and you can, on the same machine, can host up to 9 users. So I'm really, if you only look at the list price, I'm really don't know which one will be cheaper. Yeah, I can guess it might be AVD, but you need to compare also the manageability you need to put in.
We did some calculations on that, and the main difference is in, of course, the manageability. We don't have the ninjas you talk about in our organization, so we either rely on an external party to build and manage the AVD infrastructure, or we need to find someone to do it ourselves, where as you run it in Windows 365, it's just there. You license based on concurrent sessions for the app deployment, and you say, well, I have 15 of them, no matter how many users I have, and you're good to go.
That's the easy part of leveraging a SaaS service, right?
Yeah, and for us, both, we did a calculation on the Windows 365 Enterprise part, so the full desktops, with regards to the bring your own device usage. So do we give our external hires a laptop of the company, or do we just land them on our Windows 365 instance? For that, the Windows 365 is cheaper, TCO over 4 or 5 years, if you include the handling of the laptop, because after a year the guy leaves or the girl leaves and you need to re-image the laptop, clean it up, get all the stickers off and hand it over to the next one. If you include that, TCO for the enterprise solution is cheaper, and for the app-based stuff, it did beat the AVD deployment for our apps. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Is the manageability of the Windows 365, is that the biggest reason to switch for customers from AVD or Citrix or any other solution that they might have?
Yeah, that's what I see also at some enterprises I've worked with. It's really hard to find the EUC ninjas who are good at managing such an environment like AVD, Citrix, all that kind of stuff, because it can be really complex while having this at scale, roaming all the user settings and all that kind of stuff. And I think from the younger people who are joining the IT market, there are more Intune guys over there than the dinosaurs like me. I'm getting old, but...
And I think apart from that, another advantage for a lot of companies for the Windows 365 licensing is that you know what you get.
Yeah.
You buy X licenses for X users, and that's what you pay.
Exactly.
And in AVD, it's all usage dependent, so you know a max. But you can shut down some session hosts. You need to build some automation around that you might pay less, but you need to scale based on your maximum concurrent sessions. And it's always a bit of a gamble on what resources you need. You have to see in practice if it works out. Where for Windows 365, you just say, well, I have 5 users, so I buy 5 licenses and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
then
if you look at the frontline licenses then, because that's a calculation that you need to make, of course, how many sessions you want to...
For the frontline shared, you license based on concurrent sessions,
Yeah.
and then of course you need to do some thinking about that. But it's pretty straightforward. You know, if I hit the 16th session
Yeah.
in my 15 licenses, they just can't get in.
Yeah,
Where in AVD you might encounter a scenario where 16 people sign in and your session host becomes terribly slow because you just have too many people working on it.
yeah,
And for the regular frontline license, the frontline dedicated, that's basically just a Windows 365 Enterprise, only you share that license with 3 users,
yeah.
up to 3 users.
Yeah.
So you just pay an amount for each 3 users you have, and it's still the same calculation you do as when you have the regular Enterprise version.
Yeah.
And I also see another use case, what I see at some legal companies when they have lawyers, is that they are working on a physical laptop. And Microsoft also has that service like you have some temporary Windows 365 machines.
Yeah, the resilience thing, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And what they basically implemented is like the hourly rate of a lawyer is really high. And when they drop their laptop accidentally and it's broken, they just spin up that Windows 365 machine so they can just continue working. And then that IT department fix their laptop, and when they're fixed, they just throw it away. So that's a really awesome use case for...
That's just a few euros a month.
Yeah, something like
that
that.
will grant you up to like 20 hours of usage each year.
Yeah.
So for break-fix scenarios, you can just say, well, I want to use it now, and you're good to go.
And what is the biggest driver to choose between a full desktop or a published app? Is that basically a frontline worker scenario where you have a specific app for education or for healthcare or whatever, or are there other drivers as well?
Yeah, I think like it's also, if you are working at a company, you mainly can get a company managed laptop within Intune, and maybe some legacy apps as a published app on your laptop. But especially you're talking about contractors, that's mainly you give a full-blown desktop.
Yep.
Mainly because you're not able to transfer them a laptop. And as I recall, in the Netherlands, we got a new legal stuff called Wet DBA. And if you give a contractor a laptop, that's company equipment, and then they see them as an employee. So if you don't give them a laptop but a virtual desktop, then you don't give them a physical device, and they can just work for your company in a company-controlled desktop, basically.
Yep.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Yep. Can you guys name one thing that looked great on paper, but didn't in real life?
Yeah, for me, but it's top of mind because I've been working on it over the past couple of days. Microsoft does a really good job in media uploading. So they can upload parts of the media if you do YouTube watching or Teams call to your local endpoint. So you don't utilize the cloud PC as much because there's no GPU in your cloud device. That media uploading doesn't work for everything just yet. I run an airline. There's this website called Flight Radar. They use that very often, but it heavily relies on your GPU for rendering the maps. So try to run that on your non-GPU enabled cloud PC. Give it 20 seconds and you will be disconnected. Your cloud PC hangs and you can't do anything because it just eats up your memory.
Yeah.
So there are 2 options. Make Microsoft do the media offloading for that kind of traffic as well.
Yeah.
I know they're looking into it, but it takes time, of course. Or go with a GPU-enabled cloud PC. That costs like 4 times the amount you pay for a regular cloud PC. So there are some edge cases that just don't fit the system.
Yeah.
And from a cloud apps perspective, it's like Microsoft launched it GA at Ignite 2025, so it's really fresh service. I was in the private and the public preview, and I have to say they just delivered a great job for the MVP one, but there is always room for improvement. And one of the things I see, mainly 2, one is that you're not able to publish applications by path. So for example, I see a lot of companies hosting traditional applications on an SMB file server, especially at governance. I see Frans laughing, he knows exactly what. And you just want to put in the path and the arguments to publish it. That's not possible at this moment.
Challenging.
Yeah, and also fine-grained entitlements of the apps you're publishing. So mainly you want to have it's now tied to the provisioning policy, and then all the apps are assigned to that group, but you want to have a fine-grained group, like one provisioning policy which is for HR and finance, and then split up the finance and HR apps. And that's basically now missing in the Windows 365 cloud apps deployment. But hey, this is the MVP one, and it can only be better in the future, right?
And the fun thing is, I just had a discussion recently with someone, one of the lead architects in our organization. The Cloud Apps feature is publicly available. It's GA.
Yeah.
But it heavily relies on the autopilot device preparation part in Intune. That's still in public preview.
Yep.
So you're kind of in a catch-22 on, can I use this or not?
Yeah, what I see, and I will talk about this particular part in my session, is that what we basically need to switch is what we all do for years. That's golden image management.
Yeah.
Create a custom image, import it into Windows 365, and then deploy it to all your cloud apps machines. But the limit of Windows 365 is 20 custom images.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, like if you're running an airliner, that 20 images is way too short of doing it. But we will get there.
Yeah, I currently standardize on just the base Windows 365 image and use the autopilot device preparation, so the V2 thing to get the application installed through the package we already have in Intune, and then select it from there.
Yeah. And if you're looking back, both not only within the airline implementation, but also on the clients that you're doing, which technical organizational decision that has made the biggest impact on adoption or success?
For me, the authentication part. For our shared PC setups, we use the Windows Link devices. So those are what we used to call thin clients. Purpose-built, strongly managed in Intune. They were great. But they do require you to do MFA on every single sign-on, which is a good thing, but it's cumbersome if you are working in a technical department, you just came out of an aircraft and you need to get your phone out somewhere to sign into the device. Yeah,
I know that discussion we had that.
So what we now did is we have small NFC badge readers on each Windows Link device with an NFC FIDO2 badge that you can use for sign-in. Currently, it's a separate badge. They are working to swap out the badges at the organization that you use to enter the building to be FIDO2 supported. Yep. And then you can just use your personal badge to sign into your cloud PC. Just place the badge on the reader, enter your PIN, and you're good to go.
Yep. Nice. Yeah. And have you an example of the customers that you are managing?
Yeah, mainly of my part is just from the HR and the business case. Adopting it, like they can't find EUC ninjas or they're really expensive, and they just tell us we can't manage it by ourselves by code or something like that. We just buy it from Microsoft. Then we don't have to do it ourselves, and it saves me a lot of HR conversations.
Luckily,
yeah. But one thing I want to add, what is really cool, it's just, I've seen it on the website, if we look into the future, is that Microsoft has now a public preview of Microsoft Remote Apps V2. That's basically real V2. Like one thing which is lacking if you do cloud apps for years or remote apps with RDP is that when you have different DPI scalings on multiple monitors, right? You can't go to the next monitor or it will be out of scale. So there's now, and I also mentioned in my session, there is now a public preview is rolling out for Microsoft Real V2 which will solve the problem and have way better user experience, also from the full desktop experience as well from the remote apps for this type of use case. So I'm really looking forward what the GA product will look like because we're now testing it. And if you're testing with these use cases, please test with it straight away because it will really improve user experience.
Looking at your sessions, is there one thing you want people to remember? One takeaway?
Yeah, that Microsoft has really done a great thing about the MVP one. There's still room for improvement, and I think that's the takeaway from my session.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's just sharing our story. What did we do? How did we do it? And what are the results? So I think the main takeaway there is just don't be afraid to get your feet wet. Try it, do it. Like our Microsoft customer support manager thingy said when we first started out, is like just deploy 1 or 2 of these and you will see that you will find several use cases throughout the organization once you know how it works. And that's true.
Cool. Okay.
Finishing up?
Yeah, I think we'd like to close off. Yeah.
One last question. What's one of your hobbies or activities that helps you completely to switch off from your normal day job, from IT? And
Non-IT.
Non-IT. I think Ralph. I know the answer.
We know something. Yeah.
Can I name just one? Can I name 2?
Go ahead. 2.
Okay. Well,
we have a few minutes.
The first one obviously is the radio part. That's what you were talking about. But we did Express Live Radio last year and the years before. That's a fun thing, community-wise, and it kind of got sort of out of hand because it's way bigger than you would expect. But it's a really fun thing to do. I do the same at Hot Dance Radio. Looking at Michel, that he does a great job at. How do you say vormgeving in English? At the audio engineering, audio branding part. Yeah. So that's fun to do.
I agree.
Apart from that, and I don't tell this story a lot. I work like 36 hours at my current gig. On the Monday afternoon, I drive to a local sauna, where I am a sauna master. So if you ever been to an Aufguss, an opgieting, the guy that waves the towels and such, that's me. So that's what I do on Monday afternoon and Monday evening.
That's a regular thing?
That's a regular thing each week, just to get away from the keyboard and do something completely different.
Yeah, cool.
And for me, one is a no-brainer. That's my kids. They're now young. They're 9 and 5, and even my wife. But basically, I'm for, I guess, 8 years now addicted to sports. And especially I do 3 days a week CrossFit. And when I go full send, so then my body comes into a state of relax after it or something like that, because I need to focus on my body instead of work. Yeah. And one thing I was not good at CrossFit was running, so I started a half year ago doing running. So I'm now running 5Ks. And during running 5Ks, I'm thinking about and finishing things for work, like the presentation I'm doing. This morning I run a 5K and it just goes through my mind and then I'm done and relaxed.
That's what we're talking just before this recording. This morning 6. I've run 5K. Okay, and you did not drink alcohol yesterday evening, so it's quite good. So I can learn a lot from you at the moment.
And I'm still fat, so
probably we will manage that a bit more as well in the next feature. So thanks for joining us in this recording. Really awesome to see the story around Windows 365 evolving instead of Citrix, AVD and all that kind of stuff on top of it. So thanks for joining us in this recording.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're up to some new recordings that we have planned for the rest of today. The next recording is with Andy Rivas, Principal Product Manager at Microsoft, and Ken Goossens, a Senior Product Manager at Microsoft. And we will talk about Microsoft delivery optimization, connected cache, and probably some Windows AI
stuff.
AI stuff. So,
must do that.
So keep an eye on that.
Do you have shot glasses? I mean, each time you hear the word Copilot, you should have a sip.
Yeah.
Or AI.
Or AI. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if we can manage that. So thanks for joining us in this recording. Thanks for watching. Have a look at our socials for the upcoming one. So thanks. Until the next one.
This was the Workplace Ninja Connect podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Workplace Ninja Connect podcast. Stay curious, stay connected, and keep sharpening your ninja skills. See you next time.